Today I want to go over the dev talk for Zenless Zone Zero Season 3 Outlook. This was a little teaser for what's coming in the third year of ZZZ, and they showed off some very interesting things you may want to be aware of. We still got version 2.8 next, but after that, get ready for another year of fun. I'm going to cover things as they were presented in the video, so Chapter 1 was about the story. There are going to be spoilers for the 2.7 epilogue, so if you haven't finished that, then you've been warned. Now, in the story, Belle and Wise are trying to win the Porceloid W engine because they think it's going to help control their powers which have slowly been awakening. Well, at some point in Season 3, this legacy of the Helios Academy will make an appearance in the form of an agent? The devs called this person/thing the Etheric Other, Pyrois or Pyrois, I don't know how to say that. Interestingly, Pyrois is one of the 4 horses that pulled Helios' chariot, which Phaethon ended up driving not well. Anyway, one of the horses is named Eos, so perhaps we'll see the other 2 horses, Phaethon and Phlegon, as well. It was not confirmed if the golden hands we see from Belle or Wise's dream/vision is Pyrois, but they did showcase this scene in the video at the same time. The devs did specify that Pyrois will be like any other agent, supporting the proxies in combat. Does this mean Belle and Wise are going to turn into Pyrois, or is Pyrois going to be some kind of stand? I mean, based on the ending cutscene of the epilogue, we're totally going to have a Jotaro versus Dio type thing with Ramio's time-stopping powers. Some people have speculated that Belle and Wise will control Pyrois like they do with Eos. That would make a lot of sense, and I guess it would be a plausible way to make the siblings as playable agents, despite not actually fighting like, say, the Traveler or the Trailblazer. Now, so many questions, but let's move on. The devs mentioned that naturally more of Phaethon's backstory with the Helios Academy will be surfacing. To start Season 3, Valina and Norma are going to be inviting Belle and Wise to the floating hidden city, Roscaelifer. If you haven't been paying attention, this place was brought up by Lockspring as the Bangbu Utopia ruled by Lady Sunbringer. It's also the next target of Tops after Led Scepter rigged their vote with the help of yokai. From the 3-pronged pack trailer, we know something's going to happen with Hollow Zero, and Tops will assumingly take that opportunity to try and conquer Roscaelifer. I think you can guess what one of the plot points of Season 3 will involve. Now, the devs have described the tone of Roscaelifer as warm nostalgia. It's a utopia where Bangbu and humans live together, so expect a bright, warm city. It's also a futuristic floating city, so naturally the people have hovering vehicles. The double-decker bright red buses, among other visual designs, definitely imply Roscaelifer will be based on London/England. Makes sense for an island, right? They also talk about how Roscaelifer has an interesting sense of humor or style. The devs directly pointed out that the charging stations for Bangbu here are kinda like toilets for humans. Well, maybe the golden toilets in the Ballet Twins were actually based on said charging stations and weren't just some wacky art pieces. This idea of environmental storytelling is something they want to focus on more. What connections will be found between Roscaelifer and New Eridu? It was a separate restricted zone from the old Eridu period, so how have things changed between land and sky since then? I'm curious how Roscaelifer's existence will be impacting the general world of ZZZ. I mean, if there's a floating city, where is it, right? Is it parked somewhere outside the viewpoint of New Eridu, and how are people traveling to and from? I feel like the answers to these questions are going to be something probably related to the Hollows. In Chapter 2, City and Combat Area, they talk more about the environment of Roscaelifer. One of these stories we'll find is Roaring Breckies, as if you needed more confirmation, this is going to be a British-themed area. Roaring Breckies appears to be our new daily login spot, like Hal's Newsstand or Alsho's Divinations. Instead of Cough Cafe, the Tin Master on Beckford Street runs a store called Cup a Moment. Again, very British. They mentioned this is a special Tin Master model, and yes, he will be serving us tea. For other locations, they mentioned bakeries, jazz bars, and more to explore. To immerse ourselves in Roscaelifer, there's going to be a new system called the Interbu Terminal. This system runs throughout the entire city and all combat zones. It seems like as we explore and collect Bangbu profiles, we're going to unlock more and more content on Interbu. This will also serve as a progression system for rewards. I assume Interbu is going to be the location-specific system like the Sweetman Temple Management was for Wai-Fei. As you progress, you unlock more quests and rewards. Next, they mention a permanent new Bangbu-themed gameplay mode is going to be available. As the Bangbu Utopia, it should be no surprise that Roscaelifer is going to have a ton of Bangbus out and about. I am so curious if they're actually going to be tall Bangbus there like in the concept art. Now, they didn't spoil it, but they mentioned this Bangbu mode will unlock a secret base. Maybe it'll be customizable like the rooms in Random Play. Shifting gears to combat, Season 3 will feature a new environmental phenomenon called singularity leakage. It can briefly transform an area into an environment similar to a hollow, with shifting pathways and mechanisms. Sounds like this is going to help tie exploration and combat more closely together. They did mention we'll get more opportunities to use Phaethon's hacking skills. They also showed concept art for Eos using a jetpack of sorts. Once Bell and Wise mastered the Etheric Other, they will also be able to use them to move around the area. I assume this will be very similar to Xiaoguang's sword teleport thingy. For Chapter 3, Combat and Gameplay, they just came out and revealed we are getting the Win attribute back. For those of you who don't know, back in one of the early betas, ZZZ had a Win attribute. I believe Sokaku was the only Win agent. Makes sense for the girl with the giant fan weapon. Surprisingly, we don't have to wait till Season 3 for Win to appear. In version 2.8, a new boss will enter the Win attribute anomaly state. Triggering another anomaly causes a new vortex effect, although there is also a windswept keyword on screen as well. Also, surprise Premia gameplay, technically the first official footage of her in action. They didn't reveal details unsurprisingly, but be ready for Season 3 to most likely kick off with a brand new Win agent. It's not as big as Sokaku's, but Felina has a fan, so take a guess what attribute she might be. The next sections were pretty vague, but the devs mentioned building upon the feedback of the Rupture agents for new mechanics in the future. They also talked about buffing / reworking more older agents, although they did not specify who would be getting buffed next. Besides the 2.8 boss self-inflicting Win anomaly, more new mechanics are on the way for enemies. The only hint given was that some of the new attacks may contain hidden designs that require right timing for your counter. That could mean anything, but I assume we're probably moving away from miasmic shields, at least for the new enemies. For something a little more concrete, they mentioned old enemies are coming back with new skills in Season 3. Expect more notorious boss variations to fight against. Interestingly, this was presented as a new mode / event, so perhaps we'll get a bunch of variations all at once. Maybe these won't be joining Deadly Assault as new bosses, perhaps they could be just really crazy change-ups. Next, they talk about Hollow Zero getting new enemies with new skills. Also, they want to keep improving the iterative gameplay loop. Considering we know something big is going to happen with Hollow Zero story-wise, that will probably also introduce a new mode like they've been doing every so often. After this, they started talking about the more casual events. The Hot Pot event was well received so far, and they mentioned events with more urban energy are scheduled to arrive. Another well received event continues to be the Comic Camera one with Mr. Click. They plan to rerun it with even more engaging mechanics and want to continue with these types of casual / combative events. One of their focuses will be to organically blend gameplay with narrative. They tease that it will be a major part of this year's summer event. They want the gameplay to naturally be part of the narrative to help set the atmosphere. In general, Season 3 will try to focus on combat modes that can showcase the value of your many different agents. Chapter 4 was basically closing remarks and final teaser bits. To help the new player experience, they are planning to add a polychrome guide in version 2.8. I believe Starro has a similar feature, and going by that, it basically will tell you what in-game sources still have polychromes for you to obtain. Should just be a nice quality of life feature for everyone. In version 2.8, we're going to be tracking down Ramiel and at the same time uncover some more secrets about the Helios Academy. It also seems like we're going to get more details about the Etheric Other ability that will fully appear in Season 3. For Season 3, they are making some important changes to the narrative structure to give everyone time to explore Roscaelifer and for us to get to know the new characters better. Version 3.0 will be on the lighter side for story developments. In version 3.1, that's when things will start to kick off more, and 3.1 is also going to be the anniversary update. Now, they didn't confirm anything, but if 3.1 is the anniversary patch, well, we got some big questions about how long version 2.8 and 3.0 are going to last. Version 2.8 should start in about 2 weeks. ZZZ's anniversary is July 4th. That only gives us 8 weeks for versions 2.8 and 3.0. For reference, the Hoyo games generally work around 6-week updates. With 2.8 and 3.0, usually that would span 12 weeks. We're going to be short by 4 weeks or a whole month. This is mainly because Season 1 did not have a version 1.8, while Season 2 does. Typically, that's not a huge issue, but does that mean our upcoming agents are only going to be on 2-week banners each? Are we getting double banners for the entire versions, or what kind of wonky schedules they're going to be? Version 3.0 will most likely include Valina and Norma. If Ramiel isn't a complete antagonist, then she's probably the 3.1 big Void Hunter level agent. If you want to save for any of these characters or the upcoming Promia and Starlight Silly Billy, then be warned, we have less time to farm daily polychrome than usual. Now, to make decisions even tougher, Season 3 probably is going to cater to the new win attribute, just like how Season 2 leaned into rupture mechanics. Are you going to plan around that as well? Scheduling aside, Season 3 is going to be pretty wild. Is the Etheric other, Pyrois, actually a playable stand-in for Bell and Wise? What's going on with Roscaelifer, and will we finally meet Lady Sunbreaker? Before that, we gotta hunt down Ramiel, and of course we're getting Promia and Starlight Billy to end Season 2. In a couple days, we'll still have the version 2.8 livestream. We'll get a proper look at Billy and Promia there. Last year, shortly after the 1.7 livestream, that's when we got the animated Season 2 trailer with the teasers of all the upcoming characters. I would not be surprised if they did that again, so even more choices about who to pull for. That'll be it for this video. I was actually planning on releasing my horribly late guide for Lycon's rework sometime before the livestream. Going to get right back to finishing that, so please stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and be back very soon with more ZZZ videos.